and a lot of different hot spots being tried. I think we have it where we can come back and do today's special report. Of course, here with me is Brandy Hunt. She is part of Truth Talk, and was available to do this on the spot, as the state of America is at risk. Um, when you called me, Brandy, yesterday and said, "Did you hear the news? Are you watching the news?" And then said they stormed the Capitol. Like my mind, I, I wanted to say what country, because it
Right.
certainly wasn't America. And no offense to any other country, but this wasn't America. They stormed the Capitol. Like I know everybody knows what we're talking, but it just, and then I saw pictures, like oh my goodness, I saw pictures like this one. And I'm
Oh
going to tell
God.
you what it reminds me of to see this, Brandy, is it reminded me in my young child's eyes of the Vietnam protests.
Mm.
I don't think America has seen this kind of rage in a very long time. Senator Booker, Cory Booker, this is him for those who don't know him. Senator Cory Booker said yesterday, and here's a quote, that this has only happened two times in history, in 1812 and yesterday. He said today. He also said that the problem is that people were protesting to one person, to one deity, is what he said. So in 1812, it was to the monarch of England. And then yesterday, it was to President Trump. Um, he also said that this time we brought this hell upon ourselves. It's unprecedented allegation of voter fraud, Americans falling prey and choosing Trump over truth. Now, those are the words from Senator Cory Booker, who's a Democrat from New Jersey. Now, I happen to think, Brandy, that you and I are on different sides of this argument. I truly believe we are. Without having a conversation, just based on previous shows, I do believe we're not on the same page, but that's okay because we all come from different backgrounds and histories and we all see things differently. And that's what I want to do with this show is say, you know what, America, we have to be able to have difference of opinions, see things completely differently, but we cannot break apart the fabric of our country. We
Right.
cannot do it. And I don't believe that there's anybody who's saying this was a good move. Like it just wasn't a good move. Um, but I disagree with Senator Booker on one point, and I want to know if you agree or disagree. I don't think they were giving homage to President Trump. I think that they are tired of not being heard, that they feel and believe the injustice of not just the not just the election, but all the COVID. I think everything is in a boiling pot, and yesterday's electoral confirmation was, that one thing that pulled the trigger.
That was absolute circus to watch, and in real time, because we have technology that helps us be able to watch it. Back in the day, we would have been watching what happened earlier today and
Yeah.
been gasping like, "Oh," and they've already fixed it. But to watch it unfold was quite traumatic for two reasons. So you have people telling you, what's going on. This is what's happening. But you also have people experiencing if that would have been black people, it would not have been just a outrage of violence, of a protest, and an uncontrollable mass of people, whatever you want to call it. It would have been a bloodbath because individually we walk around and can't go to the park, can't go buy Skittles, can't drive our car by ourselves. and masses of people. There was thousands of people. They had knives and guns and all kind of stuff. Can you imagine us being out there looking like they looked yesterday? So there's trauma going on both sides of the spectrum. It's people who I do believe that it's not about black or white. It's about doing the right thing for the American people. But then you have the African American people going, wait a minute. If we could have done this without getting killed, we would have been done this. But we know we can't cross that line. That's not a fight we can fight, because we'll all be dead. However,
I want to show some pictures of what you're talking about. I think I have some that depict that. We have this. Now, the police are not holding their weapons. They're holding the barrier. They're not spraying tear gas. They're not spraying rubber bullets. As I know firsthand in Los Angeles, when there was a peaceful rally that was just African American people, black people, not Black Lives Matters, they did not receive this restraint from the police department. But then here you have this picture too. Again, the police are not being aggressive towards these people. They are letting them. These people went into the Capitol. They stormed the Capitol. They're not even being tackled down to be arrested. They are just being watched, it looks like. How and we did go there very fast about the contrast. And a lot of entertainment people, and I don't give credence to entertainment people, they're just other people that have opinions just like we do.
Right.
But it was astonishing to me how immediately it went to race. Not that race is any part of this, because it's not. It really has to do with the democratic system. It just does. And I don't mean the Democratic Party. I mean the democratic system of the United States of America. But for so many, it did what you just said. It was like, wait a minute, 10 months ago, 10 months, not even a year ago, 10 months ago, Black people were trying to fight for justice and not to be killed and to be heard. And they didn't come with knives and guns. They came with their voice and signs. And they were beat down. They were killed. They were rubber bulleted. They were hosed down. They were maced. And there is a double standard. We can't get away from that. And it traumatized a lot of people. Like, wait a minute, wait, what? How? How can they get away with it? Because it's just, to me, it is another fabric of being pulled back. The curtain is being pulled back on America to show our true selves. To show our true selves. They said, this hasn't happened. Senator Booker said it hasn't happened since 1812. I disagree. It happened 10 months ago. People stormed buildings 10 months ago. And they protested the government. They protested the politics months ago. Not back in 1812. Yes, they didn't take the state capitol in 1812, but they had major protests in it just months ago, and it wasn't like this. When I heard that the Mayor Bowser did not immediately send the National Guard. Why not?
Right.
Why did Mayor Bowser hold off on sending the National Guard? Why did the cops not spray tear gas? Listen, I'm not for over policing.
Right. But that was necessary.
Look at this. Look at this. These people are in the Capitol. Not only that, Brandy, they were in the offices of the Congress and the Senate.
I saw all the videos.
How do I get into an office of the Congress and they don't take me down?
At all. God bless the woman's soul who they did take down, but she had a machete. How did she get all the way into, and apparently she was a ex-Marine or Navy, 14-year veteran. Why? What are y'all so angry about that it can't and not saying what are you angry about, but what in your mind said this is the way to go?
So let's step back. Let's step back from the race and go to that issue, because
Right.
this is the thing. The Electoral College was being confirmed yesterday. Um,
Right.
and everyone knew that President Trump called for Vice President Pence to do his job, to do what he needed to do.
Yeah.
So in the beginning of the Electoral College vote yesterday, in the meeting, Vice President Trump in the video, and I tried to do video. I'm not knowledgeable how to get video up, so I just have still pictures. I'll work on that. But he got up to make his objection, and he was whispered to, and you can hear him say, "Oh, I don't have authority to do that." They told him he could not make an objection to the voting count. That's a problem for me, because he had the right to make an objection from what I'm understanding. I wish Bill was able to get online today, because he could tell us exactly what that was about. But here's a picture I want to show, because this gentleman in the black suit and red tie, he stood up and said, "But I will make the objection." And they said, well, and I believe it was Vice President Pence said, "Well, do you have another senator who has signed off?" And he said, "Yes, we do." When that happened, you can see the hand claps. That's why I took this still picture. There was people clapping that the objection was able to be heard or received, whatever the right language is. So obviously, there is a need for the American people to see the process to be done fairly.
Yeah.
When you have, and I would love for anyone, we are live, so if you have a comment, please chat with us and let us know. When you have a president, as Donald Trump has done, and to quote him, he says, "The election was stolen." He says it over and over again. Now, whether or not you believe it or not, you believe that there is discrepancies. My problem with the media is this, Brandy, and this is, I think, I don't know, but is that they keep saying unprecedented or alleged allegations, unfounded allegations of voter fraud. Well, let me tell you, if a court won't hear or look at the evidence, how do they know it's unfounded? See, that's, you ask, why are people so angry that they would give up a 14? Listen, that woman, she served her country, obviously, for 14 years. What made her so outraged to storm the Capitol? Because the news is not telling all of the truth. It is a one-sided news media.
I'm sure of that.
And so, you know, when you have a president saying this, they won't even hear. But he laid out, for those who, he laid out some of his evidence that there is issues with the voting system. And no court will hear it. They won't even look at it. See, for me to say unfounded allegation means somebody looked at it and said, nope, these are false allegations. Nobody's been willing to look at what President Trump has had. So there's the anger of people who say, wait a minute, it's not about Trump. This is about one party being able to completely silence her. Whether you agree with it or not, that's not democracy.
Right. I agree. And we already have a nation full of fueled anger from the pandemic, unemployment. So it seems like everything is just coming to a head. It's not, it just happened overnight. They didn't just decide. And again, I personally wouldn't have accepted the invitation just because I feel like I know my fate. However, they took on to my knowledge, there were people in the group, in the crowd, that were lawmakers, legislative people, you know, all kind of people, regardless of color. But I feel like as a nation, we've always resorted to violence as the answer. And that's just not the answer, because I just don't see do you see a solution to what happened yesterday?
Oh my goodness, there's no solution. We have just showed the world that we are a
Right.
mess. We are
Right.
no longer America, the one that the world can even look at for anything at this
Yeah.
point. We're in financial crisis, we're in health crisis, and now we're in political crisis. So being a superpower it's diminishing in the eyes of the other countries. It just
Yeah.
is. We are falling apart and we are ruining ourselves.
Yeah.
So, President-elect Biden said this, that democracy is under unprecedented assault, and that the actions of, I will say yesterday, he said today, do not reflect the America who we are. I think every single person involved in yesterday and hearing today can agree with those two things.
Right.
Even the ones who enacted upon the protests and the assault can agree, because the reason they did it is because democracy is under assault.
Right.
It is. Before this, democracy is under assault. We are no longer reflecting who we are as America, because you can't squash people, Brandy. We have been
Right.
squashed for 10 months. Stay at home, lose your job, lose your house, lose your family, lose your savings, lose your ability to do anything functional. Stay at home and watch the news. That's all you can do.
Oh, don't leave out. We'll give you $600 to appease it all. Yeah.
What
Don't
was
forget.
that not the icing on the cake?
Right.
It's like things are being orchestrated by, to me, it's just demonic, honestly. But things are being
Right.
orchestrated that are pushing people to their limits. So when you have people who serve the country, who gave limbs and lives for this country, and we see the country beating its own citizens up,
Right.
some people don't handle that very well, and we see that. I believe that's why yesterday happened. It wasn't about just Trump. It's not about giving homage to Trump. It is
Right.
about America, Democrat or Republic, has turned its back on its citizens.
I agree. I agree.
But once again, we're going to see this as another race issue. It's going to divide. I think we finally got past the race issue on a large scale. Do you think that?
I do. I feel like the country was at rest for a little while, welcoming 2021 in. Everybody sit down, don't do nothing, don't say nothing, don't touch nobody. And it's like a parent.
And you're going to be all right.
Yeah, we're gonna be all right. And but I really feel like God is doing something. And I always go back to he's not surprised while we are. We're like, oh, welcome to today. He is still vision. Again, last year was the year of vision. But when something becomes clear, just because it's clear doesn't mean you're going to like what you see. But now I can properly divide once I know what I'm actually looking at. And I think that's what's happening. We now know what we're actually looking at. And I also remember in the Bible where God would tear something down. I mean, he'll tear that whole thing down in order to rebuild it. Not even because the old way didn't work. We're just different people. We're not the people that were in 1800s. We have more knowledge, we have technology, we learn things differently. We're just different. And to still use a system that was created in God knows when, and we're still trying to finagle our way through a system that was created broken. First of all, it's just always been a broken system, but we finagled our way as much as we could, and now we're going, this don't work.
I don't think it was. I disagree. I don't think it was a broken system. I think it was a system with certain goals.
True.
And we as a people now don't want those goals.
Right.
But the problem I see is this, along with that system that you just said, is that the ones in power in the system running the country stay there way too long.
Right.
Who in the world should be a lifetime politician in one state?
What is the Senate? You get to stay there for how many years?
You know what? I honestly, Bill.
I can look. We'll look it up.
Let me see. I'm looking it up. The term of 6 years.
6
Members
years.
of the House of
But you can,
Representatives serve 2-year terms, but re-election is possible.
and isn't it common that they get reelected over and over?
Yeah.
Like some people have spent 40 or 50 years.
Yes, they get reelected over and over and over and over and over again. And
even
so
like with
actually,
the
some of it depends on. I'm reading it's some of it depends on what state you're in,
right.
as well. But you can get reelected, and you can get reelected, and you can get reelected, and so yeah, the democratic process should work in saying that, hey, if you didn't do a good job for 4 years, you're out.
Right.
But no, because they got so many special interest groups that's paying for their propaganda, paying for what they want pushed through. And so, if you cater to the money, then you get in, you stay in. If you cater, like I've been talking a lot about Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, that I believe she's no longer in office as of March, but she didn't cater at all. She saw the injustice from the inside and spoke out against it. And guess what? I don't think she got reelected. See, that's the problem. Even in politics, we have a cancel culture. The people vote people in that are honest, that will do the bidding of the people. But then the political system, special interest groups, money powers, the George Soroses of America, they infiltrate those people.
Yeah.
And very few of them do what Congresswoman Gabbard did. So you know what? I'm not catering. I'm not wavering. I am for the people. They voted me in. If we had people of that integrity, I don't believe we'd be here today.
Right.
But we got the Nancy Pelosi's. We got the Trumps, we got the Nancy Pelosi's, we got the Bidens, we got so many issues with our politicians. We got Lindsey Graham. I don't even want to start on. So I'm trying to name at least 2 on each side of the fence, because there is problems on both sides, Republican and Democratic.
Well, do you feel like our country has ever valued integrity and honesty?
I think there was a time. I think John F. Kennedy.
Right.
Not personal integrity. I will disclose,
right.
Not everybody's 100%, but I do believe in the John F. Kennedy, Ronald Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that there was integrity in the White House, even President Carter to some extent. But again, Bill is the person to deal with this.
Let's talk about it on Tuesday.
Yeah, we got to talk about that on Tuesday with Bill, because I'm not that person. And these are opinions of myself and not of anyone associated with me. But I think there was a level of integrity. I think Clinton lost the integrity of the White House.
Agreed.
That's when I think it went downhill, is with Clinton. And from there, it just hasn't been recovered.
Right.
And I think with all the media and the outlets, I think somehow the media started being owned by people who wanted one narrative.
Right.
Did you see that? It was, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe, where they showed like 20 newscasts or news episodes, and they were all saying exactly the same thing.
Yes, I did. Verbatim.
So if I, you ask me, how do we get here? The media was bought out.
Yeah.
And there's no way to say they weren't. You can't have a screen full of different shows all saying the same exact words and someone didn't feed them that script.
Right.
It used to be reporters reported, and they reported honesty and fair, and it wasn't a narrative. Now we're not getting reporting. We're getting narratives.
Right.
And so if you're on the side that isn't part of the narrative, as the Trump people are, guess what? What are you going to do? You got to boil over.
Right.
And what do we do? Let me ask you this. Nancy Pelosi and many others are calling for President Trump, to be impeached. He's got 2 weeks left, but the law can be done in 2 weeks. As a non-Trump supporter that you are, if I can say that, right? You're not a Trump supporter, are you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I thought you made that clear, but I didn't want to put words in your mouth. Do you believe, because it's important to me from you, because you really have a stand and you know where you believe and who you will help and represent. Do you believe that this is Trump's fault, that he should be impeached?
You know, this thought came to me earlier. I have a criminal justice degree, but I'll be the first one to say I checked out after they told me I couldn't. I had to be a police officer. But there's this law that says hand of one, hand of all. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not heard of that.
So basically, if me and you in the car together and I have marijuana, we're both going to jail, even though now you might get off, but they're going to bring you in under hand of one is the hand of all that were present.
Okay, that makes sense.
It kind of goes back to you're married. I've been married, and if I don't do what my husband wants me to do, and he decides he wants to go sleep with another woman, did I make him cheat on me? No, because it's a choice.
But logic and the courts can say, since you didn't fulfill your part and met his needs, he was right to go find them somewhere else.
Right. So that is my answer. So do I believe that it's fault? I believe that everybody out there was their own human being and that they made a choice to show up. However, I do believe he opened the conversation when he said stuff like stand down, stand back and stand down. You know, he said stuff to incite people to basically be prepared for violence if that's the case. I don't think he knew that they were going to do it this way. I'm not saying I don't think he's like conspiracy would say he knew they were coming in, and I don't definitely believe that. However, I do believe he didn't say enough yesterday. In my opinion, I didn't see anything where he talked to them like he talked to Black Lives Matter. I didn't see anything where he rebuked them the way he rebuked anybody else. He basically sugarcoated it to, hey, a slap on the hand, which is, I believe everybody got a slap on the hand yesterday, slap on the hand. So did he cause it? I feel like he didn't do something that the people wanted to be done, or Biden. So I'm not saying that it was all Trump's fault. I feel like it's a toggle between the two. Nobody's saying what wants to be heard. And people are tired. I think you said it before. I think people are just tired of feeling unheard, unappreciated. I think the $600 really sent people over the edge because other countries were getting a lot of money. So I don't think Trump caused it. However, I think he didn't do enough to stop it.
I think,
maybe he could have done anything.
I agree in some of that. I do think that Trump, in his way, President Trump knew what to say to the limit of what to say. And I think he said up to the limit when he said, all right, I'm going to go with you and we're going to walk let's see where we're going to walk. Yeah, we're going to walk to the Capitol. I think he silently gave his command, go to the Capitol. Did he know what they were going to do? I don't know that. But he definitely gave the command as commander-in-chief to a lot of people that was all raged up because of everything in the last year. Yeah. And he said, we're going to the Capitol. We're going to let our voices be heard, be known.
Well, here's my alternative question. if that was the case, now I scrolled through to make sure that I saw people of all nationalities, and I might have saw a few.
Did you? I don't even know there's a
There was
pepper
a
steak in
picture
there.
of one, maybe two out of thousands of people. So
Yes.
where were the other nationalities? That, and this was a fight for equality for all of us. Why was it only a Trump supporter protest? So I mean, why if it's about all of us, why weren't all of us invited to the party?
But we don't, I'm going to say this. We don't know who was invited to the party.
We just
I'm going to tell
decided
you,
not
look, as Black people, you don't
right,
say you're a Trump supporter.
right. We're not going.
So yeah, Trump, listen, Black people might have got invited. Might have been anybody who's disgusted with the way this election has, anybody who believes that it was stolen, anybody who believes there is injustice about to happen at the Capitol, join me for my rally. The Trump rallies are open, from what I understand, to anybody. But Black people ain't going. They ain't going. One, they're not going because other Black people will shame them off the face of this
Right.
earth. They're
Right.
not going for two because their jobs might be at stake if they show up at a Trump rally on camera. And for three, they're not going because they know there's going to be a lot of white supremacist people that believe in different ways, and they really might not be welcomed. So
That's true.
I don't see the complete Caucasian sea of people being something that Trump is responsible for. I see it as,
Right.
again, the 10 months of society has shown Black people, stay in your place for a minute. Don't get involved in things you ain't gonna win, and it's just gonna turn against you. It really is. And so that's what I think. But I think that now Trump said he was going to walk with them to the Capitol. I don't know if President Trump did that. If he actually did walk with the people to the Capitol. I have not been able to see him there. There was one video that had his voice as people were storming, and it had his voice, but to me it sounded like somebody added a recording over the video. So I don't know if he was there or not. But I'll tell you what, I got a thought. Hold on a minute. When the president says to go down there and people went down there, I don't know. Have you ever been to a concert? You've been to concerts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you go to a concert and everything's peaceful, but my son used to go to concerts back when they were permitted in America. And he would say, I don't want to go to that concert because there's going to be a mosh pit or marsh pit.
Mosh pit. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is that? He's like, that's when one person decides to start fighting. One person will punch another person. One person will push somebody down. And then before you know it, it's crazy. I don't want to be up front anymore. You got a crowd of angry, disenfranchised people. It only takes one person, Brandy, to decide I'm going in. Because then the mentality's like, hey, wait. And then to see that the cop didn't do anything. Listen, if the cops responded to the first line of people, the way they responded to a Black Lives Matter, I want to make this clear. I am not a supporter of Black Lives Matter. I detest the foundation of Black Lives Matter. It is not for Black people. It is for political gain, and that is it. And it's for the destruction of Black people. And I wish that God would open up Black people's minds and eyes to see the truth about that organization, because it is not for Black people. It is for the destruction of Black people. But anyway, I don't know if you agree with that or not, Brandy, but I have to disclose myself. I don't want anybody to think I agree with something that's not of God. But if the police had dealt with that first line the way they did at rallies across the nation when it was about Black people, that second line wouldn't have got in. They wouldn't have got all the way to the Capitol. But no, instead, this picture, it floors me. Instead, you see the police holding the barricade instead of shooting pepper spray.
Yeah.
This is the frontline people. There's nobody on the stairs, right? They haven't rushed it yet.
Mm-mm.
But they're not holding even their weapon. They're holding the barricade. What is wrong with that? When a mob gets angry, The police are supposed to do whatever it takes to stop that front line, because then everyone else gets the message. Everybody else gets the message after that. You know, I'm military, I'm ex-military. My husband's ex-military. I know a lot of military people, and you're not trained to sit back when a mob comes. You're not trained to sit there and say, let's just hold the fence.
Right.
You're trained to knock down the aggressor so that the ones after them will be scared enough to go home.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe Mayor, what's her name? What's the mayor? Hold on a minute. I got her name somewhere in here. Bowser. Mayor Bowser did not initiate the National Guard. I don't think they wanted it to stop. I think that there's some people that just wanted this to go all the way so that they can have one more reason against Trump and Trump protesters. Listen, people held the American flag. They're not saying American protesters. Why are they choosing the verbiage on this? It's not about Trump. It's about the democracy. In Vice President-elect Biden's words, the democracy being under assault. It's the wrong way to go about it, though. Very. But you know what? I can hear Bill. I hear Bill's ear. Changes in history shows it only happens when there's a revolt. Sometimes you need a revolt to make the changes, to get people's eyes opened. I wish that we can sit here today and say, yeah, the politicians got the message. I wish that pictures like this right here of the politicians cowering down for their safety. Yeah, see? I wish that go ahead. I wish that was something that would have changed the hearts of the politicians and woke up people. I wish that pictures like this, armed guards protecting the Capitol. But check this out. You got a man's face right there. Gun pointed right at him. It ain't shooting. And I'm thankful that guy didn't get shot. But I'm going to tell you what, if that was a different race right there,
he'd have been gone.
Been gone. But this should have woke up the politicians. And what bothers me and what I am afraid of for this country is that when you get this much outrage and you get something, according to Senator Booker, that hasn't happened since 1812, shouldn't the politicians take note, take a breath, and say, oh my gosh, wait a minute, we've gone too far here. We need a pause. We need a reset. We need to come together because the American citizens are done. Whatever we believe, we've done it wrong in getting it to them. Whether you're on the Democratic side or the Republican side, you got the message wrong to the American people. Period. Instead of that, instead of having President Trump and President-elect Biden coming together and saying, hey, we stand against this. We stand against this. This is not the way to go about it. Let's go back to the civilized American. We will do this democratically. Instead of them coming together and making a joint statement, instead of Nancy Pelosi, saying we're going to impeach Trump, all they did was get up from that. They got up from their scared places and they continue to lash out anger and division. Now, I will give this. President Trump did say this, and I quote, the election was stolen. Of course, he had to add that. He said, I know you are hurt and in pain, but it's time to go home and have peace. At least he did say that. He called for it to stop. He called for people to say, listen, I'm hurt, you're hurt, but this is enough. It's time to go home and have peace.
Right.
Now that is what was needed to be said by both parties.
Yeah.
But on President-elect Biden and Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, they didn't do that. They said, this is all Trump's fault. This is all people that are on Trump's side, and we need to impeach Trump. And they just There's no concession, Brandy, that, hey, American people, if we angered you so much, if we have, by all the things that were even out of their control, listen, the Democratic Party has no control over what has been going on for 10 months.
No.
That you can't, like, yes, they make laws and they do this, but listen, let me tell you what we're angry about, a lot of us, and the things that comes from our governors, that comes from our mayors. It's not even coming from the Senate.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So they don't have the control of everything that we're experiencing. But I do believe that they should come out and say, listen, we've got this wrong. Our message we stand by, like Trump did. He said, I stand by my message, but this is enough. Why can't someone in the Democratic Party come out and say, hey, we stand by our message. We won fair and square the election, but we did this wrong. Let's just have peace. Why are you fueling the fire again? President Trump is out of the office, according to what we know, in 2 weeks. Why can't both sides just say, Americans, calm down? You must agree that this transition of power is going to happen. But we are not going to fuel the fire by now causing more anger and unrest, by talking impeachment, by talking against the protesters. I don't understand. It's not going to, nothing good is going to come out of continuing the fire.
Nope.
So we don't have long time. I'm glad that you came on and did this show with me. I hope that we don't fuel the fire, but we calm those, because at the end of the day, President-elect Biden is going to take office. Vice President Kamala Harris is going to take office in 2 weeks, unless something drastically changes. Whether you agree with that or not, that is the way that it's going to happen in America. And we need to not fight that with our flesh and blood.
Right.
But we need to pray for our world, pray for our country, pray for all of the elected officials, the ones going out of office, as well as the ones coming into office. We need to pray for our country and the freedom that we have. We have a lot of freedom in America, even though this year has taken away so much of what we are used to. We still have a lot of freedom here in America. Yeah. To those who feel, rightly so, in my opinion, that race was shown here, that it took the scabs and ripped them off when you saw what happened yesterday, because we all know, had it been Black people, it would have been a massacre. It would have been a massacre. We all know that. And anyone who wants to dispute that, please tell me your side. I did have someone this morning tell me, no. It was because Black Lives Matter destroyed things, and they destroyed property, and cops cops did let Black Lives Matter destroy property. But guess what? That was politically funded. That was politically, allowed to happen to bring more unrest. But when you look at just American citizens who were not politically connected, when they protested, not rioted, protested, they were met with violence. They were met with aggression. And so I'm talking about the average American people, once again, do not have the rights and freedoms and protection of the law that, if you are connected, you have. Plain and simple. That's the way it is. And I think that's why people are angry, is that we are constantly seeing that. But the only way we can change it is to change ourselves. Change ourselves. Don't stay in this media long. Like we said on the top, we have to know it, but we have to have more time in the presence of God, in prayer, in right fellowship with one another, and in the Word than we do in the media. Because where we spend our time, what we put into us is what we're going to get out of us. You agree with that, Brandy?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, I think we talked about this before. When Biden becomes president, my day will look the same. Nothing's going to change in my world. Um, I I know that there's things that we can do, and I think you just mentioned it. A lot of stuff happens on a local level, and we totally miss, being communicating with our own community and our own government in our state, and we just want to look, to the Senate and the president and all of that. But a lot of changes can be made right here, in your own local city and governments.
Yes. And, like in California, there is a local petition to remove Newsom from office. That's something that we can take part in. If you believe he is part of the problem here in California, you can take part in that petition to have local governors and mayors removed. But there's a process. We do it with paper. We
Right.
do it with our pen. We do it with, speaking out with respect.
Right.
There was one gentleman. He was making such a good case about what happened yesterday, but then he started using language that, it just wasn't called for. We got to be able to
Right.
have communication with respect, with kindness, even though we disagree. The only way to do that is to
Right.
spend time with God. Honestly, in
Right.
this society, the only way to stay with a sound mind is the Word of God and fellowship with other believers. With that, I think I want to just give one more charge, and I know you agree with this, Brandy. If chaos comes to your community, if this trickles out of Washington and starts coming to your local community, stay away.
Right.
Just stay away. Don't get involved in it. Pray over it when you hear it on the news. Stop right then and there and pray for that gathering, that whatever it is, whether you agree with it or not, give it to God. Pray for those people. Pray for the police officers. Pray for protection for everybody and for the right decisions to be made to dismantle any violence. But by all means, do not go. Do not take part in it.
Right.
Stay home. Your voice can be heard in other ways, and we encourage you to do the other safe ways.
Amen.
Thank you, Brandy, for joining me today on the special report, the State of America. And I look forward to talking to you next Tuesday, if not before, and follow up and see what happens over the next couple of days. How do we come back from this? That's going to be something yet to see.
Thank you for having me.